Welcome, Theatre Addicts. I am here with the Tomosuru production company. They are doing Trevor and Margaret at XY this year at the Fringe, which is a very exciting off-Granville Island venue, kind of downtown West End area. So I'm really excited. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming. I'm going to get them to introduce themselves.
I'm Gerald Williams. I wrote it and directed it.
Thank you.
My name is Megan Eastwood. I am playing the character Margaret.
And I'm Bill Croft, and I'm playing the character
Glenn.
Yeah. And
he's the only character that never says his name.
yeah. And
Yeah. I'm Rylan Olexon. I am playing Trevor.
Lovely.
And I'm Terrell Grundy, and I'm in production and promotion.
Awesome, thank you. So tell us a bit about Trevor and Margaret. It's in a slightly different venue. It looks like it might be a little bit racy, but I don't know a whole lot about it, so fill me in.
Yeah, that's...
Is it racy?
extremely racy.
Extremely.
You would not want to miss this.
Someone give me some background.
One of the things about this show, the way it's designed, is that the audience is one of the characters.
Ooh.
In that we get the play is a comedy with tragic consequences. And in a play like that, the audience needs to be able to feel what we wish them to feel, and we take them on an emotional journey. And their reaction and their emotion changes what happens to the actors' emotions in the play. To some extent.
Cool.
Because the actors are well rehearsed and the play's set. But if an audience has a negative reaction to a point, then the actors will have they'll have to overcome that reaction.
Okay.
And XY is a nightclub in Davie Village. First time the Fringe has been in the West End, and thanks to Jen, Mickey, and all of her crew at XY for letting us do this.
Yeah.
XY is an intimate little space that we can provide. I've worked there before with other plays, and the audience and the actors are very close to each other, so there'll be a lot of feeling. But the play itself is just essentially a boy-girl love story.
Okay.
But the boy is in the middle of dealing with issues for his family and internal issues over the sexual fluidity of himself, being polyamorous, and those issues are all built into the play without ever being expressly addressed.
So it's just kind of the background of the play, but it's not like we're gonna hit you over the head with some sort of...
No, we hit people over the head after the show.
Stay later.
It's great because it's a non-traditional love story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not what you're expecting. And even the play itself, as you think you know what's going to happen, but you don't. And then you just want to keep watching.
It's really refreshing. There's so many plays and stories about that traditional love story, and this is kind of a twist, and I find it a bit more realistic to the way things are in 2018. We don't really have those kind of love stories necessarily that are like rom-coms and that type of thing, so this I felt a lot more attached to it. Like it felt realistic, like this happens to people, and it's something that we don't see in theater very often, so it's very exciting.
And it's always great to have different representations so that new people can see themselves on stage. Like, oh, this does happen, this is realistic, it is life. It's not just boy meets girl.
Also,
gets married.
One of the things is that people who identify themselves, like I'm gay, or as I like to call myself, elderly homosexual.
Oh, that sounds so much more interesting.
He says that 5 times every day.
When I wake up in the morning.
It does take longer to say.
But you see, one of the things is if sometimes people don't have clear identities and labels for their identity.
Absolutely.
And that's often an issue play. And this isn't that. There is no clear label sometimes in one of the characters especially. And I think that that's a very realistic representation of a lot of people's life journeys, where they are at points. As a gay guy, I was straight, but really had close friends. And then I was like bi-curious. And then I was like bisexual. And then I was like, just guys. and now I'm an elderly homosexual. So I think labels often don't fit for a life.
Absolutely.
And I was going to say labels are a way of like keeping distance from other people and creating boundaries. And I know with Tomosuru is we want to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Right? We want to invite people in. We don't want to create boundaries to keep people out.
And I think issue plays are really important when we're struggling to overcome something, when we're needing to represent, a certain group of people. But then the idea is ideally, eventually, we transcend needing to to bring attention to it because everyone's cool, and then we come to it just being part of the background, just part of the story like anything else, is kind of the idea, right?
And it can help represent the nuance and complexity
Yeah.
of individuals' lives within that issue, and not the issue itself.
He's ahead of his time.
Yes, I love it.
And it's not just the label of his sexuality, it's also like the relationship that they have is not necessarily a traditional relationship, and I think that's really interesting too, because that does exist, and that is something that people can watch and be like, oh, I didn't know that, that's a common thing that I can see in theater or represented when like that's me and that's my life or whatever. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And it's nice to have such an intimate venue.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to ask you guys, and you've kind of already answered this, so it's going to be interesting. Because we've got actors, we've got your producer, yes. We've got actors, we've got the producer, we've got the writer. You're all having different experiences of this production as it's being created. What is the one thing that's resonating with you at the moment? Because obviously there's usually more than one thing, but the one thing that's resonating with you about the play at the moment, this week.
This hour.
We had our preview last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did that go?
Really well.
It was
really
really
well.
great.
Yeah. For me, it's everything. Like, everything is so not what it seems in the world, I guess, a lot of times, and that's kind of how I feel about this. Like when I deal with him or when I deal with her or when I deal with the audience, it's like I'm very different. My experiences with each of them greatly changes how Trevor as a character interacts with each entity that he interacts with, and so that's, for me as Trevor, that's what I'm most excited about and most interested in right now, is just like, because that's what we do in the world, so it's not one-dimensional characters at all. It's like there's so many different dimensions and different aspects to this that I'm really enjoying myself. You guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
What he said.
Wow.
Bill's a big talker.
Yeah. The play deals with, and it's certainly quite specific in certain areas that it's dealing with, but they're universal feelings and emotions, and so, I don't know where I heard this. There's two emotions, love and fear, and I'm probably quoting Dr. Phil or Oprah or somebody.
I believe it's Freudian.
Freudian?
Oh, really? Everything comes from
so
love
it
and
goes
fear.
back before daytime TV.
Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know anything did. In a pure sense, it's very simple. The things that people go through. We, just because we're people, make them so complicated.
There you go.
And I think the play deals with that really well. That's one of the things that attracted me to it, is that there's actually very simple things going on, but because of the human involvement, they become really complicated. And I think at the end, and I won't tell the end of the play, but
No spoilers.
we have it does become, maybe that's from working on it for a month or so, but it sort of becomes clear to me how simple it is, and how, if you don't let all the other things clutter it up, that you can deal with everything. But sometimes you just never get a chance to.
Anyone else with something that's resonating with you at the moment?
It changes throughout the process. For right now, what I've been thinking about a lot lately is my character Margaret's relationship with Trevor, and it's so different than any kind of relationship I've ever had. So I had a really hard time in the beginning trying to figure out this character, and I way overthought it. Like, who is this person? Why would she be in this relationship? What does she see in this? What does she want from this? And as it kind of progressed and grew, I'm like, no, it's just a different type of relationship, and there's different ways to be in love, and ways that people look at that and see that, and that has been sticking with me a lot lately in the last few times, especially when we performed it, and I saw how the audience reacted to it, and I heard some feedback, and I found that really interesting, the look at relationships in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
And this is kind of a really exciting time because it's like, will people like it? And it's just about to go there, and like all this hard work everyone's put in, you like really want it to be good. So it's like that butterfly moment when you first meet someone. You're like, oh,
Did I like me?
Yeah.
It happens? It's not gonna happen? I don't know.
Like once again, after all this process, it comes out to, I hope they like me.
Yeah, it's like a first date with your show.
Yeah.
well, it's
Kinda.
gonna be really intense.
Yeah.
So it's not your average bowling first date.
Yeah.
Depends on the type of first dates you don't really have. I suppose.
Do you want to get into that now?
You go first.
Yeah.
We'll save that for the
That's
audience profiles.
intriguing.
And for you, what's resonating for you right now?
Fear. I write these things in
Fear.
then when I get it, I go through a process writing, and then when I finally get it, I do a cast to put it up, and our first audience, that anxiety that people will come and not see what we've created, and then our first show was last week. We had a review. It was just
Right.
very inspiring.
Oh, great.
Review, but it's
I
like
just about
every
retired
night.
now.
What's that?
I just about retired.
But it's like I always say,
not
every
worth
night is
risking it.
opening night for the audience.
Absolutely, it's
And
true.
the audience is fresh, and you always have that anxiety that, well, maybe that first audience, they were just liked us.
Yeah.
Will the second audience, is what we're offering valid and true? And we hope it is every night.
And every time you go up on stage, you're kind of putting a little piece of your soul out there, and that's one of the cool things about Fringe is that they're so often created plays. They're things that are a little bit more personal because you've written it, and it's not someone else's words that you're like, well, maybe I'll do this. It's something that's more personal. So it takes a little bit more to put it in front of people and be like, please like it. Who's done Fringe before? Two of you. Oh, fantastic. That's exciting. So I believe only two of you have done Fringe before, performed in Vancouver Fringe before. So I'm going to hear from the veterans first. What is your favorite thing about Fringe as a performer?
Well, for me, it's so great to see this Vancouver town here become a theater town, even if it's just for like a week a year. That there's an excitement about seeing live shows, and people are talking about them. And I've lived in Edmonton and Montreal, and the Fringes are a big deal, and it's exciting to see that happen here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me, I've written and directed 3 plays for the Fringe, and meeting people who've seen my work at the nights and come and chat about it, that's extremely makes me very shy and makes me very appreciative. Like just seeing that it has some effect.
Yeah, and that is the one of the unique things about Fringe is that you have the performers and the writers and the producers and the audience in the same bar a lot of the time. Like you meet each other on the island, you meet each other in East Van, and you get to chat to each other, and it's so great because you get to see the immediate effects of your work, which can create real community, I think.
Yeah. Community. That's the key, right?
Yeah.
That's
community.
the goal.
And when people care, it becomes like so much. There's more point to it, right? There's so much more that can happen.
Yeah, exactly, and you're seeing the effects of your work, which is lovely. Not just in like ticket sales, but also in humans. So
So if humans
human
buy
elements.
tickets,
humans buying tickets helps for sure. So for those of you who maybe haven't been involved in a production in Vancouver Fringe before, what are you looking forward
I'm
to?
really excited. I grew up going to Winnipeg Fringe from
okay,
Manitoba,
cool.
and that's such a big deal in Winnipeg. It's like people book their year around going to the Fringe Festival, and it's such a fun community party vibe, and I'm really excited. I've been to a couple of plays, the Vancouver Fringe here and there, but definitely not in this level, and been part of it and here every day. Is this going to be really exciting to like meet all the other artists and see the other shows and just get the vibe. Like I said, the community vibe is really exciting. So see other people that are into the same thing that you're into, and it's cool. It's fun.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to be the star of the show.
What a Rylan answer.
That's it. It's all about me, and it's fantastic.
I want people to watch me.
So it's too late to change the cast.
And
deep now.
we just let
We edit that out.
I think I've went to like 1 or 2 Fringe shows, and I've had friends in them. I've never experienced this community that they're talking about, and like the way that, like Megan's talking about the party aspect, even just people just wanting to meet people and chat and hang out and be nice to each other and watch plays. Like that sounds great, and I've just never been a part of it. So I'm excited to jump into that aspect of it. I think just to experience this all for the first time, just soak it all up. You know.
We're gonna have to check back in afterwards and see what it's like.
Yeah.
The hangover interview.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks later.
Yeah, we'll wait. Cool.
I need all the fun, like, non-theater aspects of it, like the food trucks and the music,
food
and
trucks
like
and
there's
music.
so much
There's
going on. It's
workshops
so much
and-
fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
They have that stuff?
Yeah, it's so cool.
Trucks,
Check out your
food
program
is
guide.
sold out of trucks nowadays.
Not just falling
And
off
they
the back
move
of
around
them.
the city.
Yeah.
I think like everyone's saying is like the community aspect, because I mean I've lived in Montreal and I've been to Winnipeg Fringe, and there's a really good group of people who all know each other and support each other. Sometimes that's hard to find in different cities, and I know it's possible here. There's so many great artists and great companies, and they don't seem to really find that groove yet. So I'm hoping that
Yeah.
Fringe is going to be that.
So this is your opportunity to speak directly to your audience before you meet them on Granville Island and expanding all over. What would you like to tell, if there was one thing you wanted to tell your audience about what they need to know to come and see your show? What would you tell them? Silence.
What they need to know?
Bring a friend.
Yeah. You know.
Well, there's 99 shows, right?
Just
So,
go.
like,
Yeah.
to
Right.
pique their interest, to make them see what's special about you guys, so they'll come. What would you tell them about your show?
It's not an interactive show, but you'll be emotionally engaged, and don't and allow the emotion to occur. As I say, we don't ask anything of the audience, and yet they'll walk out feeling like they were part of it. And so just be, just sort of go in. You're going to have a good time, and I want you to come along for the ride because you'll like it.
I think they're going to be surprised at what they see they can really relate to in these 3 very different characters, but they'll be able to recognize a lot of things in all of them, and how they maybe deal with things that maybe is not. Maybe things could be done a little differently.
I think it's a really good show. It's got comedy and it has bits of drama, and there's everything that, you know, as an audience member you want, but you're not going to be, it's not stereotypical. You're going to leave thinking about what you saw. So I think, like, for me as an audience member, that's always something I want to leave afterward and be like, I want to talk about it with somebody and like have a conversation.
Yes.
And I think that this play really elicits that conversation afterward, which is important for me.
Yes.
When we started working on it, Gerald said to me, before I'd even read the script, I think he said that the arc is not like, in like with me being the main character, he said the arc is not with like the main character, and like it's not that I don't change all that much throughout it, I guess. It's the way that the audience sees it changes, and it's really a journey that, like, everything you watch, you want to go on a journey and whatever, but like this one, it really is down to the audience going on a journey, you know? 'cause
The
it's-
audience's journey, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's the character arc is more for the audience than for the actors.
Yeah, you know, I'm still trying some of the same stuff at the end than at the beginning, but by the end, the audience has a different reaction based on what they've seen, you know?
Yeah.
And, and that's what I think is cool about it for me, is that it's really about the audience's arc even more so than like my own as an actor, you know?
You're like building a relationship with them.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I think who they relate to and who they might sympathize with will probably change several times through the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a play that tells you what to think or what to believe. It's great because it is like a conversation piece. It's a starting point. So that's always exciting for me. 'Cause I find it hard if an art piece is telling you to think something. It's not really art anymore.
Yeah.
But this one, opening up something.
Yeah.
It's giving you an idea or a door or an entrance space.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, at Theatre Addicts, that's definitely something that's important to us, is conversation and getting people talking. And I want theatre that makes me think and makes me feel and leaves me to make up my own mind. So it sounds like that's what Trevor and Margaret is doing. So that's
And
really
it's funny,
exciting.
and it's kind of bitter and,
And it's funny.
sarcastic and like scary. It's all things.
So my name is Danielle Benson, and I am here with the cast and crew of Trevor and Margaret by Tomosuru Productions. And they are playing at XY, Club XY, in kind of downtown Davie kind of area.
Davie Village.
Davie Village, that's the word for it. So come check it out, and we will see you at the Fringe. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Danielle.
Great.
Yeah.